Hello and welcome to A Life of Creation. My name is Chad and I am the host of this channel. Tonight we get to talk to Will Mathy, a young creator starting out on his journey as a creator. So sit back, relax, and let's hear his story. Ah, just use an overlay. Here's Will Mathy. Um, Welcome to A Life of Creation. So we are going to talk about your story and your journey so far as a very young creator compared to me.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for first of all, like putting this project together. It's really, really cool. I've been wanting to do something like this or start something like this for a long time. So it's awesome that you got the jump on it and are actually like talking to creators and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, I'm really happy to be here. I'm excited
Well,
to talk about stuff.
that just means you'll have to come on more and we'll talk more.
So, yeah, I
Because
mean,
I don't want to just to be a one-time interview and, never talk to you again. Like I think the beauty of the world of creation is like just how you and I met. It's kind of like there's this network that, is constantly like, oh, you can do this, I can do that, collaborating. And, I want to kind of get into that too with the channel and kind of talk about how to work across. I mean, when we first started talking, you were in New York, so and
yeah,
I'm in California. I mean, you,
come a
you
long
can't get
way.
much further than that in the States. So, it's
Yeah,
but we're still able to work and like come up with stuff, and it's a cool thing to be in that world as a creator. And I think, like you're saying, being able to talk to other creators, it's just opening that door more for
yeah,
collaboration. So
100%.
I would love to have you on more for even like, tips and tricks and
Yeah,
motivations and, you know, like you were saying, like
100%.
how, what you think about when you wake up and to get you going and stuff.
Yeah.
I need coffee. That's basically what I think about. Or making breakfast for my family. That's about.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
all right, I'll let you get to your story.
Yeah. So when I was like from like a young age, I my dad listened to music all the time, and it was like really like diverse genres. I know he mainly listened to like old country music, like Hank Williams Jr., George Jones, stuff like that, like honky tonk country, Irish folk music, um, like polyphony, like classical polyphony, and then like Pearl Jam and stuff. And so he didn't listen to Pearl Jam too much, but I remember the times like one of my first inspirations to actually start writing music. I was probably 13 or 14 at the time, and I went to work with him, and he showed me the Pearl Jam Unplugged from MTV, like the MTV Pearl Jam Unplugged. And I remember watching that and being like, holy cow, like this is. It was just so like raw and intense, but not like intense, like whoa. It was like intense, like the lyrics all were very, very, they hit emotionally. They were very, yeah, it was, they're very obviously well written songs. And so I really loved that. And I was like, dang, like I want to write music like this. And so,
Not many people
after
can.
that, yeah, no, I mean, I still can't, but there's always that reaching for
Yeah, yeah.
that goal. And so I remember I started playing piano when I was 10, played until I was probably 12 or 13. I liked it, and I can play pretty well. Like if you give me sheet music, I can learn it in in a week or something. But I'm not like too adept at it. And I remember playing like all my favorite songs on piano. I didn't learn classical music. I learned like sheet music, like scores for movies. Hans Zimmer is just my all-time favorite, so I learned a lot of Hans Zimmer scores. And then after I stopped taking piano lessons at around 12, I took like a year off to kind of just play music just on the piano, and I wrote some songs on piano. They weren't too good, but they were a start. Then I picked up guitar at 14 and then really fell in love with guitar and writing music for guitar. And then released my first song on Spotify after I, did all the production myself last December, I want to say. Yeah, last December I released my first song, and then I've just basically been releasing about one or two songs a month since then. Constantly like evolving with my sound, with my production skills, with my lyrics. Just yeah, so that's kind of like where I started, and then so my dad was really like the biggest like inspiration I would say, or like the reason I got into music was because he listened to music so much and so many different genres, which was great because I got the inspiration from like his Pearl Jam or the old country music or the Irish folk music, stuff like that. So,
Yeah, actually, I'm pretty similar. I mean, my dad didn't get into like, the rock. He wasn't into rock too much. My mom would listen to like the golden oldies,
mm,
like doo-wop and stuff like that. And then, but my dad would listen to classical music, jazz,
that was my
I think,
mom, very
yeah,
classical jazz.
and Irish music and like that kind of stuff. And I think you and I had talked about it when we were discussing my song and stuff, and
Hmm.
just that love of all kinds of different music, just because that's what our parents listened to. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I remember when I was so yeah, basically when I picked up guitar, I started listening to like classic rock and stuff, just because you're a young guitarist, you want to play AC/DC or Guns N' Roses, and I remember listening to that. And I was like, this is cool, but like the lyrics in like classic rock, they don't mean too much, They're kind of just like party, have a good time. Listening to Pearl Jam and grunge, so like Alice in Chains and stuff. And then I remember one of my friends showed me Slipknot when I was working on a dairy farm. He showed me a Slipknot song. It was Psychosocial, and I was like, "Oh, that!" And the first time he did like the roar, I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, I think there's like two reactions. You're either like, "Ew, what was that?" or like, "What was that?"
Yeah,
And I was like, "Whoa!" So I started listening to metal, and quickly, obviously, I realized that there are two different types of metal. There's the metal that is scary and satanic for the sake of being scary. It's like
right.
shock value metal, like Marilyn Manson or Slayer or Cannibal Corpse. Those are all bands like they have talent for sure, but they're scary. It's shock rock, it's scary for the sake of scary. And I never listened to that as much. I was always more into artists, when I found bands who actually had extremely intense, deep emotional lyrics. I realized that, like, within metal, you could express emotions that you can't really express that fully anywhere else, I remember listening to Lorna Shore, one of my favorite symphonic deathcore bands, and they have this trilogy of songs called The Pain Remains, and it's about losing someone that you love, And listening to those, I was like, I don't think that in any other genre they could convey the feeling of that complete loss and sadness and despair through any other medium, if that makes sense. So I fell in love with metal in the sense that it's an artistic form that you could convey very intense emotions that are hard to convey anywhere else. But I stick to I write metal, but I also write like every genre because I believe every genre is like a different medium, you know,
Right.
that you can certain emotions paint better or come across better in certain genres.
Right.
So,
And I mean, even going back to metal, the beauty of like, I was into punk and hardcore a lot and metal, just because that I did a lot of work for Face Down Records and they do more metal. Um, but just like you were saying, in metal, you could just scream
Yeah.
something, and it's like that emotion comes across as authentic and real. And you know, I tell people, punk for me was always just kind of like this camaraderie of brothers and sisters who just didn't quite feel like they fit in anywhere else. And they found this niche of people yelling and screaming, and they're like, "Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel that way.
Well,
This is amazing." And you can participate.
mhm.
Where like some of these other shows you go to, you're just a viewer, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. I mean, like, to me, also men's mental health especially is a really big deal for people in the metal scene because I truly believe that like in metal you can express your emotions as a man, like cry or scream or be sad, but not get judged by but in like a way that every other guy's like
yeah.
hell yeah brother, you know. So it's like the and it's very physical, you know. A lot of guys, if they get broken up with or something, they'll go to the gym, right?
Yeah.
And so the same thing with metal. It's a very physical genre. You go to a metal show, you get in the mosh pit. It's like
Mhm.
physical. It's a war. It's a battle, you know. And so I feel like, especially now, it's a really healthy outlet
Yeah.
for a lot of emotion for men, especially.
Yeah. I mean, in high school and stuff when I was going to a lot of shows, there was that. It was a release of just tension, but
Mhm.
it was like fun and
Yeah,
uplifting. And
yeah,
it's just like the old adage of like, oh, that's just violence. But it's like it's orchestrated violence and it's fun and everyone knows what's going on and there's it is a release and it's healthy and it's like and even in the metal punk scene, there's a lot of positivity. A lot of people didn't drink, do drugs. I mean, there's always the dark side of every genre, but
yeah,
the ones I was going to was just sober mind, spirit, and it was
yeah,
like why I would want my kids to go to that,
yeah.
because
No,
it's just like
exactly.
it was such a positive thing for me. Unfortunately, my family doesn't like that kind of music so
Yeah.
much, but
And that
you know,
was so funny, you know, through my music journey, my parents were always extremely supportive. I remember my dad, like, he would get me music equipment that they were throwing away at Cornell. My mom was always there to, like, listen to the lyrics I had or listen to my songs and give her opinion on it. And I remember when I was getting into metal, they were like, "What is this? You know, what are you?" I remember explaining to myself. I remember I wanted to buy tickets, and I did to go see Lorna Shore, Gojira, and Mastodon in this big concert. And my mom was like, "Are you sure? Like it's gonna be dangerous?" I'm like, "Mom, I would feel safer at this concert than I would going to a Taylor Swift concert. Like, let's be honest here. Like, I I've never felt safer than around people at a metal concert because we're all here to. I mean, I don't really know why, but I just feel like it's we're all here and we're all like brothers or sisters and we're just here to listen to good music, have a good time, and I think there's a beauty in that you don't find in many other genres.
yeah. I mean, I could probably count on the one hand how many shows I showed up to and it was like, okay, I don't feel safe here
Yeah.
because there's like rival groups or whatever.
Mhm.
And fights were breaking out all over, a bunch of stupid skinheads show up and cause problems. But um, I've also have shot a lot of concerts of different genres, and I I was a little scared at a Jonas Brothers concert. There's some wild mamas out there.
Yeah, I think there's a certain reality, like groundedness, people who go to metal shows have.
Yeah,
There's
definitely.
not that insane fan aspect to it that you would get, for example, at a Taylor Swift concert. You see people like screaming and falling on the ground or like going into seizure type stuff, and you don't see that at metal. People who go to metal concerts are very, very chill people.
Yeah.
So,
And they know they'll probably go hang out with the band at Denny's afterwards anyway.
yeah, exactly. You know, we all hang out around the merch table afterwards. Um, or go sit with the guys at the back of the venue who are just you know
Yeah.
that kind of deal. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I guess else, like obviously my parents were super supportive of the music, and I'm really grateful to them for that, for being able to even like understand where I was coming from with the metal stuff, because I don't write a lot of metal. I have a couple metal bands that I'm writing for, but on my Spotify, like I don't have any metal songs out, just because like I don't want to just be that shock rock metal band, you know. I want to be able to write good lyrics, but I want to use that medium in the best way possible, because it's very easy to misuse, you know? I feel like it's really easy to just lay down some heavy guitars, a halftime drum beat and scream, and it would sound pretty good. But to really like level it up to an actual art form, you know, just like modern art, it's very easy to throw paint on a canvas and say like this is my vision for this is what it means. Like yeah, absolutely. But then it takes a whole nother level to actually make that vision come to life without you having to explain it to people, you know? Which
Yeah.
is what I believe music should do. It should make you feel something without the artist having to be like, this is what I wrote it about, you know? So,
Right. Like have the deep lyrics, but still have a message that is easy to understand.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm there's definitely a lot of bands out there who can do it, and I mean, you played me one of the demos, I believe, of one of your hardcore songs,
Hmm.
and I think you can pull it off. So you should probably start releasing some of that.
Hopefully. Yeah, me and my friends are working on some really cool stuff right now. So big things coming.
Right. Well, more than I got going on, so that's great. I mean, I remember just those days of being with friends and in a garage or somewhere and just coming up with ideas. And it's like it's such a wonderful experience to be able to like in a room just co-creating.
Yeah.
I definitely miss it. And like having you come and do vocals that day, I was like, oh, this brings me back to,
Yeah.
being in a band, just,
Mhm.
kind of directing each other, like throwing ideas off each other and coming up with a product that everyone's like, yeah, that sounds good.
Mhm.
I kind of miss it, but at the same time, it's been fun to, work with you and some other people who, I mean, you're closer to me now, but at the time, across the country, I've worked with people in Idaho, Texas, Oregon, and it's like you kind of stop and go, "Oh, my reach is a lot bigger now."
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, and I'm hopefully will just keep meeting people. So
Yeah.
there's something kind of new and exciting about that too.
100%. Yeah.
Um, well, do you want to talk about some of your your band names and that you release? I know you have some on Spotify.
Yeah. Sure. So my main project right now, that I'm actually releasing for, the only one that I've been releasing for, is William Shrike. I started that as my solo project, so just me on the songs I would write and stuff. And the first song I released, and the name William Shrike, it was just obviously my first name, and then I just changed my last name. But I loved the Shrike, the bird, mostly because it's a beautiful bird, has a beautiful song, but it also saves its prey. It'll catch prey and then spear it on thorns on an acacia tree, I think, an acacia tree, and like save it for later. So I was like, that's really cool. So it kind of has like that two sides where it's like I have like the cool, like the the country and the whatever else I write, and then the metal side. Kind of described it pretty well. Also rolled off the tongue nicely, and then
That always helps.
yeah. And then so the first song I released was Between the Moon and Stars. And that song I wrote mostly just about I remember I was at TC3, which is the community college that I went to for a semester and then ended up working at as an employee, doing audiovisual tech. And I remember sitting outside on the bench, and I would go out and I would read Raymond Chandler. And I was sitting there and just like experiencing peacefulness, I guess, but also like a peace tinged with a bit of like longing or melancholy. So it's like you're completely like you're happy, you're content, you're just like Like you feel good, but there's also this part of you that I can't really explain like what I was longing for or you know what I was being melancholy about, but there's just this tiny bit of that mixed in with it, and I really wanted to write a song to explain that, So, and that's actually kind of set the bar for a lot of other songs that I wrote, which was trying to describe emotions that are very hard to put into words for me. You know,
Right.
it's not just sad, it's not just angry, it's not just in love or heartbroken or depressed, There's deeper emotions behind those that are the root of those problems. Like you can be depressed, but there's 10,000 reasons why you could be depressed. So,
Probably
I
more.
have yeah. So, I have a song called uh Go Down to the River that I just released. I think last month. And that one is I kind of idealized came up with this idea of like this cowboy, right? And he's walking in the desert or canyon right beside this river. And he's ready to like throw in the towel, ready to call it quits, ready to, end it all. And he goes to like wash in the river one more time, kind of symbolizing like kind of like the River Jordan, going to wash in this river one more time, hoping it will like when he comes back up, all of his sins will be washed away and he'll feel like a new man again. So that's kind of that song. I have a couple of the songs. One is called oh my goodness. My memory, like I have to have all my lyrics in front of me when I'm playing live because my memory is terrible for remembering like words and stuff. But it's called How This All Goes. And that song is about the feeling, I wrote that right before I moved out here to California from New York. And I had written it about the feeling that when you're about to do something big or you're about to do something, like for me, it was moving out to California and kind of reflecting on all of the past mistakes or mishaps or, whatever I had made in New York, and feeling like I had almost ruined by those mistakes this good thing of going to California. Like I don't deserve this, or I don't, I'm not good enough for this. And kind of about that feeling that, comparing it to the opening night of a big show, and so that one was like really important to me. So I write a lot of songs just about the emotions that I feel like I can't convey easily through words by just saying, "Oh, this song is about being lonely." My songs are never just about like one emotion, it's about a
Right.
bunch of different ones. So,
Well, one emotion usually will breed, three or four.
mhm.
Um, and I think, growing up and listening to, like you're saying, classical music and old folk music and country music, those genres are pretty notorious for conveying a lot of different emotions within movements and like structure and stuff like that. So
Yep.
I could see that why you're gravitating towards, that like that resonates with you, being able to
Yes.
present different emotions and different even like genres, like some of the old classical composers, may fit in one, genre of classical, but it's like they dabbled in so many different little nuances within that and had
Yeah.
different sounds and stuff. I think that's pretty cool too.
Hmm.
And that's something I tried to like revisit because I grew up listening to that mostly as well. And with when I started my solo thing, it's like, how can I, instead of just playing the same four chords as fast as I can, like I used to do, how can I then, kind of create different movements with it with
Yeah.
notes? Um, and I try and write actually piano music, but I can't play piano music. So maybe I'll send some your way.
Yeah. I could try. Like I said, like I'm good enough to like kind of fake my way through a lot of stuff, but not nearly good enough to like play Mozart or anything.
Well, yes, I
So,
can't write like Mozart.
oh, good, it'll work out then. No,
Um, now, were you born in New York? Because I know your parents from California.
So I was born in Fullerton, actually.
Okay.
Right on Harbor, there used to be a birthing center, and I
Okay.
was born right on Harbor Boulevard, and we lived in apartments called Duella
Okay.
uh,
Okay. Yeah.
for till I was, I think, three. Yeah, three, because then my brother Nathaniel was born, and then we moved into a house on West Ash Avenue, still in Fullerton, and we lived there for until I was 7 and like nearly turning 8. So we moved out to New York December of 2013.
Okay.
So and then I turned 8 in New York, and then I lived in New York till I was 18. So 10 years, and then I moved out here just because to me New York was like because where we were, right, the dead center of New York, it was farm town USA. That we had there was like no one, very small community. Everyone kind of did their own thing, came into town only to get groceries, and then left immediately after. There was no kind of community involvement really.
Yeah.
And the only community that we were really involved with heavily was the homeschooling community, and it was a lot of non-denominational Christians, or Christians of different sects. And uh, it was funny because like in ways they were more strict than our family, and our family is like traditional Catholic. So I was like, it's so funny that they're more strict or more controlling than we are, because my family, we weren't like loose by any means, we're very religious, but we were very moderate in all things. That's kind of been my motto in everything, is moderation in everything. I believe the devil works in extremes, so you can be too fanatical, but you can also be too lax.
Yeah.
And I remember I kind of came into the homeschool group as a teenager, so as a high schooler, and meeting all the other high schoolers in the homeschool group. They were all doing the exact same thing, all liked the exact same things, all very like, and I came in and I wasn't a loose cannon. Like I wasn't like the rebel, but I did things that not a lot of them either understood or knew what I was doing, or like they just didn't know. They never met anybody that did what I did, like the music, or just everything that I was super nerdy about.
Slipknot didn't register with them.
Yeah, you have no idea.
I'm
Um,
sure I do.
before, they all listened to, contemporary Christian music and country music. Like that was it. So I came in and I already listened to like reggae, and I was listening to ska, and I was listening to grunge, and they were like, "What is this?" I would never get the aux in the car ever. So kind of growing up with that, I didn't have a lot. I had support definitely from my friends. Like my friends never like didn't support me, but I didn't have any like-minded individuals like me who were creating music. I did meet a couple of kids who did music, and we had a lot of fun together, but it wasn't enough to really take off. I wasn't in the right place. And so when I moved out I knew I wanted to get out of New York, really. I wanted to just, not because I didn't like it, but just because there wasn't enough opportunity for me to do what I loved to do, which was music. And so I ended up applying to University of Miami, University of Rod, a bunch of different places. And then my dad was like, "Hey, I just heard that Fullerton College has a transfer agreement with Berklee College of Music in Boston. So you can go to Fullerton College for 2 years and then go to Berklee." And I was like, "I'm doing that." And it's genuinely the best decision I have ever made in my life, coming out here to pursue music, because the community is just fantastic. It really is just amazing. So,
Yeah. Fullerton's a great town. I would
mhm,
love to move back there at some point in my life.
yeah, it really is just a very, very artist friendly community, which is fantastic.
Yeah. It wasn't so much when I was growing up. It was a lot of bars and antique stores, but you know, it was,
Yeah.
and then it went to like basically all bars, and now it's kind of, expanded to coffee shops, nice restaurants, and
Yes.
like you said, a lot more like artist friendly.
Hmm.
But yeah, I didn't realize that were actually in Fullerton for so long.
Yeah. No, I would. I
Okay.
mean, I had, not that I'd been around, but
Right.
I knew everywhere. I not everywhere, but like I recognized the place. When I came back here, I knew where everything was, and it felt like coming back home in a way.
Right.
So,
I mean, you still got family there,
mhm.
so that always helps.
Yeah, definitely.
Why did you, well, I was gonna say, why didn't you just go to like New York City or something, but it was because of the school program?
That and it's a difference in pace. New York
Yeah.
City is very, very fast paced. California, even LA to a certain extent, it's laid back, you know?
Yeah. Compared to New York for sure.
Yeah. So it's like it's two different mindsets really. New York City, fast, business like, everything happening all at once, which some people, like my friend Luke, thrives in that environment. He absolutely is doing fantastic out there. I actually helped him move out there this year and he's thriving. But I wanted the very chill, kind of laid back beach life of the West Coast. Um, I don't like the cold very much. I kind of tend to shut down. I get when it's cloudy outside, I don't want to do anything. I'm like, if the world ended right now, it would like figures. If it's cloudy outside, I just get depressed instantly. I need the sun, and so yeah, moving out here, it's like just the perfect place to breed my type of creativity, really.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense. I feel like I'm almost the opposite. I need like that cold and cloudy. Like I always joke, like my wife's from Oregon, and I'm
hmm
always like, "Ooh, we should move back up there." But it's, I think I would miss the sun
yeah,
ultimately.
yeah, that's how it was for me in New York. Like during the winter time, it's terrible. I was like, it's cold. I don't want to go outside. And I'm not that big of an outdoorsy person anyway. Like, I would much rather, like, I told my friends, they would all love to go hiking because hiking was like the only thing to do where I was from, right? It was either that or ride four wheelers. And, so I was like, I would be like, they'd be like, let's go hiking. Don't you want to enjoy nature? And I'm like, if I want to enjoy nature, I'm just going to grab my guitar and go sit underneath a tree and play guitar underneath a tree, you know? Like, that's my kind of enjoying nature, not like hiking or doing all this, so I'm not an outdoorsy person in general. So yeah, I don't really miss it too much.
No, nice. Um, yeah, I don't know if I would miss that either. Like, being born and raised in California, you're kind of like romanticize seasons.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, how amazing to have like fall colors and snow and a spring. But I'm
Yeah.
like,
Till you
I
get
don't
stuck
know.
in the snow.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, I don't know. No, thanks. I'll
My
stick
parents
to,
love it, but
yeah. Well, I could see your parents loving it. They seem like that's their cup of tea for sure.
mm,
Um, so currently you're in school then. Um, but you're focusing more on the audio engineering, right? Or are you
yeah.
doing like music performance?
So I am taking actually so apply I'm taking a couple applied guitar classes, but I'm not taking any more next semester because I do not like them at all. It's funny, I never viewed myself as a guitarist. I play guitar, but only it because it's the best medium for me to put my songwriting into. And I
Right.
don't see myself as a vocalist really either. I'm just a songwriter and I pick the mediums that best fit whatever song I'm playing. And so I got put in this class. I was like, guitar class. That sounds fun, you know. And I got put in this class, and all these kids in the class, they are guitarists, and they spend hours a day. As long as I spend mixing and writing, they spend that practicing guitar.
Right.
And I remember talking to my teacher because I wasn't falling behind, but I was really struggling with keeping up with everything that we were being given because we have to learn like two or three new songs a week. We have to do all these scales, and I'm like, how long should I be practicing a week on this? And he's like 2, 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day, even. He's like, when I was your age, I was like doing 6 hours a day with my friends every day. And I was like, I genuinely like do not have that time because I'm in between my shows that I'm playing, other classes. You know, for these classes, like especially the applied classes, you go into applied because you want to be a guitarist.
Right.
And I don't want to be a guitarist. I want to be a songwriter. And whatever spot in a band that needs to be open or that needs to be filled, I will fill it. I will learn drums if I have to, you know? Just because I love performing music, not necessarily I love playing guitar, you know?
Right.
Um, but a lot of my classes revolve around audio engineering, which I absolutely love. Like it just it enthralls me. So
Yeah. Yeah, I've haven't gotten it my claws into audio engineering too much. I've figured out enough to, hit record and make sure I'm not like blowing the speaker out.
yeah,
But I usually will hand it off to people to mix and master.
yeah,
Um, but the more I do it, the more I kind of pick up like, okay, that's, a lot of cutting and moving and just kind of tweaking a little bit. But um, it's funny you say that, like guitar is just kind of like your medium to start getting your ideas across. Because I think that's something I realized for me as well. The guitar was just one of the things that I could pick up and play.
yeah.
But it was when I started trying to do my solo stuff, I realized that I would, figure out the chord progression and structure on guitar, but then take that and open MuseScore, which is a composition software,
Yep.
and I would just start writing it out in there, and then from there I can start, figuring out a melody, or if I come up with a riff on guitar, I put it in there, but make it violins or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guitar is how I can see music, but then I
Yes.
can then put it into something else,
Exactly.
something that's bigger and fuller, and because I'm not practicing my scales
Yeah.
ever. And it's like I like to take the music theory that I learn and just kind of apply it into like a bigger, broader scope. Because like you said, if like me getting you to do vocals, I can't sing worth crap. So
Yeah.
I found someone said, "You can sing. Here's what I'm going for.
Yes.
Figure it out."
That's exactly what I do with a lot of my projects is I'll write an idea. I'll have an idea in my head. And I'm like, look, man, like I'll tell my friend Alex, who's a drummer in that band that a project that we're working on. I'll be like, hey, this is my idea. I don't know anything about drums. I just know I want it to kind of sound like this. Do what you want with it, you know? And that's, what I excel at to a certain extent is taking an idea or taking somebody else's idea and like building on that or figuring out how to make it into reality. I have
Right.
one or two original ideas a month, when it comes to inspiration, I'm very low on the like big inspiration. Like, I can't sit down and be like, I'm gonna write a song and then
Yeah.
write a song in 15 minutes. But if somebody's like, hey, this is my idea, I can be like, oh, I know the
Right.
whole song already.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that's when it comes to guitar or any other instrument that I know, I don't have them mastered, but I can hand it off to someone I know who does, and that's great about what's out here is there are people who know how to play the guitar really well.
Yeah.
You know,
Could probably throw a stone and hit a few.
yeah,
I mean, that's again, that goes back to like the beauty of, people living their lives of creation is you start realizing that you don't have to do it all. You don't have to be even necessarily good at something. But if you have an idea and you know people who can then, and well, I guess you need to be good at direction, or saying that this is my idea. You're good at this, you're good at that, and you can kind of lead and direct. Um, I mean, you're starting in it at such a young age, figuring that out. So I'm figuring that out in my like late 30s,
yeah,
you know. And I wish I, thought of more of that back in the day. And I think me not growing up with internet and social media, you know, the advantage that your generation has compared to like what I did
Mm,
is pretty incredible. But I think like we every generation has a means and a way to make it happen. And like I had friends at high school. We found a karaoke machine that you had two mic inputs and put a tape in and kind of figure out how far we need to be away from drums next to amps and the other guy holding the thing and it's like, you just figure it out. So it's cool to see the like younger kids just finding the tools and then making these projects happen.
100%. Yeah.
Makes me jealous, but it also is encouraging, as an older person to see just the passion that the younger generations have in making art and creating and
Yeah.
living knowing that they are created to create something
Yeah.
and they're pursuing it and figuring it out.
Yeah. Social media is very interesting. It's a very two-sided um, issue when it comes to does it help or does it destroy creativity, you know? Because it really just depends on the individual who's viewing it. You
Right.
know, social media, the internet, it's a tool. You know, like for example, like any kind of weapon, it's a tool. It doesn't do anything on its own. It's the person who uses it that decides whether it's for good or for evil, you know?
Right.
And social media can make or break you. You know, you can it's as volatile to your career as a weapon is to your life, you know? And learning how to navigate it and how to take inspiration from it and not be either discouraged or not try to plagiarize, you know? Because there's two things, you know, you scroll on, I can scroll on Instagram and I can find a guitarist who's 8 years old who will play better than I ever will or sing better than I ever will. And I'd be like, man, I'll never be able to do that. And this kid's only 8 years old, you know, like what?
Yeah.
But I can also look at it and be like, oh, wow, that guy's riff is really good. He only has 5 followers. I might be able, you know, so you have to kind of, there's a lot of ways you can go wrong with social media. And, or also you can, you know, fall prey to the trends, you know, thinking that, oh, this is what all the cool kids are doing. I have to do that too, and lose your sense of individuality.
Right.
But like you said, it's a very it helps a lot because you have people who are on the YouTube or Instagram who are offering tips, offering tricks, offering like amazing resources for artists, young artists, beginners, or even you know intermediate and advanced to learn from and to take from and to really grow through that. And
Yeah.
that's why I love the internet, is because
Yeah.
you have such opportunity at your fingertips. You just know how to navigate it.
Right. Yeah. When I think started following or watching YouTube videos. His name's Eric Andreas. He's your guitar sage or something on YouTube. And I would say that, you know, watching his videos and then I signed up for some of his courses, like took me to a next level of understanding the guitar. I'm still
Mm,
not proficient. I'm still not great because I don't practice.
yeah,
But being able to watch these videos of just someone simply explaining something to me has opened up a lot of doors musically
yeah,
for me. And I see younger kids who can like just riff and play everything, and I'm just like, they just sit there and watch YouTube tutorial videos. I didn't have that. I had
yeah,
a really bad McBay book or something. I'm like, I don't know any of this. No teacher and no nothing. But like, could also be why I gravitated to the punk and hardcore stuff because it was like you didn't have to know theory or anything. It was just you kind of make it up as you go. And it's
yeah.
more about the feeling and emotion. And like So I played trumpet, I think late elementary through freshman year of high school. So I actually I could read music, I could do all that stuff. But then I quit the band because I didn't like the band director, picked up a bass and was like immediately starting a punk band. And it's like all of my music knowledge just completely evaporated
Yeah.
overnight. But now, so it's fun to kind of revisit it and see that it's not completely dead in me, but
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. That's
Mm.
that's neat. I'm glad there's YouTube now, so
Yeah.
I can learn it during my lunch breaks at work.
I definitely would not have gotten as far as I have, as quick as I have without YouTube. Definitely, like
Yeah,
there's a lot of YouTubers that I watch that are saying like, "Hey, this is a good way to mix bass guitar in a song," and I'm like, "Oh, I need to learn how to do that," because I have a tendency to make the guitars really loud. And so like trying to figure out how to like maneuver everything, YouTube's great for that.
yeah. It's
Um,
yeah, and it's like these short little how-to, videos, and I've learned a lot just kind of deep diving in some of these random niche, environments.
yeah,
Which is another reason I wanted to do this is because I want to reach out to people and talk to creators and people who, are trying to pursue their passions and their desires to create things with their lives. And
yeah.
um, well, I don't want to go too long with you, but it's so you're in school now, so what would be kind of I mean, we'll talk about it in another video too, but what's kind of like your next goal that you're reaching for?
Um,
Is it to
my
try
next
and get to
goal.
Berkeley?
Actually, no. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to leave California, if I'm gonna be honest. I thought I would, that I would be here and then I would leave, but I was not counting on meeting the people that I have met and getting the connections that I've gotten. And I don't want to uproot that all just to go to Berkeley where it's uncertain again. And I don't mind uncertainty. I thrive in chaos. I will say that. I mean, I'm at my best when things are chaotic and I can be as chaotic as. But no, I think the next step for me is really working on something big, like creating a band that I'm putting my heart and soul into, that I'm going to be working on and really trying to get it to take off, get playing shows constantly every week, stuff like that. Either that or I would say find a job at a music venue or a studio. But right now I'm working at this escape room as an actor. It's like a horror escape room, and it's just the best job I've ever worked in my life. I mean, really, it's so much fun. The community of actors there is so great, and there's a ton of opportunities to branch out, from there. It's a really coveted job. I'm actually shocked that I got it, and I had no idea like how serious it was. When I applied for it, I was just scrolling on LinkedIn, and I was like, I want like a fun job, And I found out I thought it was a haunted house at first, just for Halloween. And I got there, and they had me do like a whole audition. I was like, well, it's kind of crazy. They had me read out, a sheet of paper, and I was hired like on the spot, and it was so funny. Like as soon as shook the lady's hand, Christina and Joran, they're the owners, they're husband and wife, and I shook Christina's hand, and then all of a sudden somebody came up behind me, boom, bag over my head, and I was like, "What is going on?" And they're like, "It's all right. This is like what we do to all the new hires," and I was like, "All right." So they took me back and they put me in the electric chair, shocked me like 5 times in that thing, and I still have like the mark on my wrist from where the diode was, where it like electrocuted, which shocked me. But and then after that, like it feels great to be a part of the community because it's very exclusive. A lot of people are trying to get these jobs of the like get the acting parts in this escape room, and it's like the scariest escape room in California. It's full contact, tasers and everything. But, it's just great to do a job like that, especially as a musician, because it's so creative. You have to think on your feet. Like, everybody who goes through that escape room, they are scared out of their minds. You have no idea what they're going to do or what they're going to say. You have to, number one, stay in character of whatever character you're playing, but also be able to think on your feet because they might open a door that they aren't supposed to open yet or do something they're not supposed to do. So you have to think in the moment, what is, number one, the best way to scare them? Number two, how do we work through a mistake or something that shouldn't have happened that happened? So that job is just going fantastic for me, and I really want to like stick with it too. So I think I'm at the point where I'm like, this job is great. I don't really want to leave yet, unless a really good deal at a studio or something. So
Right.
yeah,
Well, you're young. I mean,
yeah,
you could stay for a while and still be fine.
exactly.
Um,
So I think the next big move is really get a band going, like a good band where I love all the musicians, and I know we can survive a tour bus together. Because that's me and my friend Diego. We're working on something big right now, and we're gonna do auditions for a guitarist in the coming weeks. And our biggest criteria is, would we be chill with hanging out with you on a tour bus for hours at a time? Because at the end of the day, I don't care how good you are on the guitar. If you have a bad attitude, I don't want to be around you. You know.
yeah.
Um. But if you're not that good, there's always room to grow. But you have a really good attitude, there's always room to get better. So
Right.
yeah, I think that's the next big move here is continue with college, definitely. Um, continue with college and then just work on the music. So
Yeah. With the college, would you get like a AA degree or something still?
at Fullerton, I
Yeah.
would get my associates and then
Okay.
figure out if I'm going to transfer out from there or where to. My dad really wants me to get a bachelor's degree. I don't have anything wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with that, but I would probably just end up going to Cal State Fullerton or something because I really don't want to, like I said, I don't want to go out of the state because I know I wasn't expecting to meet the people I've met and make the connections that I've made. Uh, and I don't really want to leave that just yet. So,
Right. I went to Cal State Fullerton. It was a good school.
yeah, it seems like they have a very good music program. A lot of the people that I know who have jobs in the industry are from Cal State, Fullerton, or any of the Cal States, really. A lot of them are from the Cal States. So,
Yeah. I mean, for me at that point, my parents were like, "You're paying for college."
hmm
I was like, "Well, I could still live at home." And at that time, it was a very affordable college. I don't think I could afford it now, but that's why I went.
hmm
And I loved it. It was a great school, so
yeah,
you'd probably do just fine there. And at the end of the day, if you're doing music, no one's looking at your degree.
yeah. I think it's funny. My dad takes it on himself. He believes that he should take care, like pay for my college and stuff. He believes that college is the last thing that he has to do before I'm fully an adult, and which I
Okay, go to
understand.
Berkeley.
You know, yeah, I know, right? Jeez, but it puts a lot of pressure on me, obviously, to get good grades in the classes that I'm in. But it also, to a certain extent, makes me feel like I'm not earning it or not, really having control over like what I'm doing. When I can choose my classes, of course, but I also have to be working towards a degree instead
Right.
of, maybe going for a certificate or something, which is what I'm looking at now. Is like I don't want to do a lot of gen ed classes. I did a ton of the gen ed classes already in high school. Like I took college classes in high school, like physics and you know biology, chemistry, like all these college classes, and I don't want to go through that again. Just because I'm like, I know enough math. Any more math that I learn, and I would probably be going to be a scientist. There's a reason I'm a musician, not a mathematician.
Right.
Um, but I really want to. If I'm like I'm gonna talk to I talk to my parents. I'm like, if you guys or if I was gonna be spending money on a college class, I would make sure that it would be a class that I know that I'm gonna learn something from, and that would be valuable to me instead of just going to college because that's what you do is you go to college.
Yeah.
And even more so because their money. I'm like, I don't want you guys spending however much a class just for me to go and be like, I'm not going to do anything with this knowledge, you know? And I know like it all compounds, it all adds to each other, but still.
Right. And I mean, I think even, kind of a modern idea now is even how important is college if you can master things without it. Because, I mean, I went to college, I got my BA and everything, and I know there's something that actually you really do need the college degree. Um, but I think more than anything, having, your degree shows employers that you are committed to something. You're
Yeah.
committed to finishing, you're committed to, furthering your education, what have you.
And you know how to sit through the boring stuff.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, it shows you're diligent, timely. There's a lot of things that it will show as if, but I don't think in the music world, depending on what you end up doing, not a lot of people are going to be looking at that.
Yeah.
They're going to look
Well,
at your track
your
record of what
skills.
you've done.
Yeah. And that's, why I'm taking so many classes that are just purely for audio engineering is because I want to learn as much as I can and then be able to put that into my music because I know that if I was a studio manager, I would not hire somebody just because they had a degree. I would be
Right.
like, all right, sit down at this computer, mix a song for me, and let's hear what it sounds like. Now, obviously, if you came out of Berkeley with a degree, I think anybody coming out of Berkeley with a degree is going to be top tier. But anybody coming out of a Cal State or something, you just like maybe,
Yeah.
you know. But if I had to choose between some guy at Berkeley who had, pretty good skills, like average Berkeley student, versus some guy who was just from the middle of nowhere, but like was insane and like could like was a wizard with the tools, I'd be like, I want this guy.
Yeah.
So I want to find a good balance between the two of furthering my education and constantly learning, but also being able to learn practical skills and apply those in real life, not just in textbooks.
Right. And I mean, ultimately, especially in the music world and like my role in photography, they can't train you how to feel. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there's definitely something within creators that it's a natural, I don't know, gift, or we are naturally created to be this particular brain chemistry that enables us to see things slightly different,
Yeah,
or
I
just know, you just know.
I think as a creator, you deal so much with emotions and with feelings that you just become you hit a new frequency that you can feel and see of the human experience. Um, well, I don't want to keep you too long, but like that idea, I did a final project for my art history class. We were talking about romanticism, like the romantic era of art in the 1800s and or the 18th century and the early 1800s. And that the romanticism period happened right after the start of the industrial revolution and in the late 1700s. And that was because the artists were reacting to what they perceived correctly, in my opinion, as the total uh, destruction of individuality. With the Industrial Revolution came factories, came uh, you know uh, factory lines, like all these like things like machines. It killed off the importance of the individual, and your only worth then was what you could provide to the collective or to this company or to whatever it was. And so a lot of artists were ahead of the curve, really, especially when it came to like mental health stuff, because obviously mental health or mental uh, mental I forget what the word is. Mental problems, like back in 1700s, 1800s, even into the 1900s, were horribly researched, poorly dealt with, and terribly diagnosed and dealt with.
This is called demon possession.
Yeah. So, well, yeah. So it's like, but it was so funny that you say that because Henry Fuseli, the artist who painted the work The Nightmare, where the woman is lying on the bed and the demon's on her chest and the horse is in the background,
Mhm.
that is a painting of somebody experiencing sleep paralysis or psychosis, you know? And it shocked people. People were like, that's so macabre and so grotesque and scary. And he's like, well, no, this is what people are experiencing. And like the fact that everyone was like shocked by that was kind of a testament to how far ahead of like researchers, of scientists, of historians at the time these artists were, because they understood what people were going through. They were there with the people, they were the people. They weren't saying, oh, like I look at nowadays, something of the same sort is happening with news stations. You know, news stations kind of tell you what you should be feeling, or you should be feeling this because this happened, but they're so out of touch with with humanity, just in general. You know, they're so out of touch, and it shows by how wrong they are just every time. You know, so yeah, I think artists are on a different level of a different frequency than a lot of other people because we deal so much with emotions, but in not just in like reveling in the emotions, but trying to express them, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, definitely. Um, Great. Well, I think this can end part one,
fantastic.
and we will do part two another time.
Awesome.